What a beautiful afternoon here in Tokyo. The sun is shining, the rainy season, well, it comes and goes, but not today. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that I noticed at the supermarket yesterday. 5-kilogram bags of rice, which is what our family usually gets, maybe once a month or so. They're like double the price of what they usually are. It's averaged about 4,200 yen per 5-kilogram bag of rice. The government emergency stock has already been released, and it's really early this year. We're going to talk about how this might impact, what will impact tourism to some extent. There's a lot of stuff going on with the food industry here in Japan. There's a lot of challenges from policies from decades ago that are coming now to bite everybody in the butt, and there's also some changes that are occurring. Let's just talk about what I saw yesterday at the supermarket here. This is my local supermarket, and I was walking around and I said, wow, that's expensive. And you can see there's not as much variety. They get what they can get, right? And it's limited to 1 bag per customer per family. So you can't hoard this. Japan has kind of a nasty habit of hoarding stuff, and this is part of the problem. We'll talk about this in much more detail. Oh my gosh, the heat's starting to get to me. You can see that this is a koshikari rice from Niigata for that's a 2-kilogram bag for what a 5-kilogram bag used to cost. And then 1-kilogram bags are about what 2 kilograms used to cost, and a 5-kilogram bag is like what 10,000. So they basically doubled the prices. So hopefully that this does not cause too much distress for families, because the harvest isn't until fall. We are just planting the rice now, and that's the crazy part about it. So the way the Japanese rice works, let's talk about this. Rice planting doesn't start until now, maybe late May. They start to prepare the rice paddies, April, late May. When the rainy season starts in June, that's when they do what's called taue. They start to plant the little seedlings into the rice paddies, the rice fields. That's now. And we have to wait through the entire season, through the summer, for that rice to grow and then harvest. And then we're going to start to see this rice shortage maybe take a little bit of a breather. But it's really interesting that we're so far in, we're so early this year in the rice shortage. Now, there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes here. Let's get a grip on why this occurred and how they're going to solve it and what this means to you. Japan is currently grappling with a significant rice shortage driven by a combination of environmental, economic, and policy-related factors. Climate change and extreme weather. Well, let's talk about last year's weather. It was really, really hot this summer. It was scorching actually, and the rice harvest was not good. So the yields were down, and that's led to an early shortage this year in 2025. There's a phenomenon called cloudy rice, which diminishes the rice market's value. A lot of it had to be thrown away just because it didn't grow that well. When the weather's that hot, you're not going to get much of anything good growing. Last summer's harvest was not a good one. There's been a surge in tourism and consumption. Yesterday I talked about Japan's shrinking population, but making up for it is 40 million tourists, which is just a boom from what it was 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago we had like 100,000 tourists in 2021, right? Because of that era that we all went through where we couldn't travel anywhere. So we've gone from that, where we had these rice surpluses and the government was able to stock some of the rice, now to that almost being completely depleted, and now we have very little left in the stores, and we have 40 million tourists, so 40 million hungry people to feed all of a sudden. Now that's spread out over the course of these people's trips. They don't actually live here, so it's not the same as a resident, but it still makes a pretty big impact. Tourists can eat a lot. I'm just saying, as a tourist, I usually eat well when I'm traveling too. So that consumption, we're gonna have more tourists this year. We're already seeing it. So they're going to be, a lot of restaurants are having some trouble coping. I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a couple of minutes here. The government policies to reduce rice production is starting to bite Japan in the butt. In the efforts to maintain high rice prices, the Japanese government has historically encouraged farmers to reduce rice cultivation through subsidies and acreage reduction programs. Boy, I wish they didn't do that now. While intended to balance supply and demand, these policies have contributed to a decreased production capacity, leaving the country vulnerable during periods of increased demand, like right now. Panic buying. This happened last year. It might be happening a little bit this year. When the I highlight that's a big policy there. Because of the earthquake and the fear-mongering behind this thing going on in July 5th and the mega quake and the quake down in Miyazaki last year, everyone's kind of expecting this. There was some panic buying. I saw this in 2001 following the Great Tohoku earthquake and tsunami back then. The store shelves were completely empty. It wasn't just because of panic buying though. The supply chain was completely broken too. You couldn't get supplies that were coming from Tohoku down to Tokyo. You couldn't get stuff down to Kansai. So all the supermarkets across the country had dwindling supplies. Tokyo shelves were empty. No bread, no rice, no bottled water. It was weird to go into a supermarket and see like nothing on the shelves. I remember that the first couple of weeks after the earthquake and tsunami, they were really hard. Even in Tokyo, it was really rough. So panic shopping happens here in Tokyo, happens here in Japan. Toilet paper, we had shortages of toilet paper as well during that era a few years ago. So it happens, but yeah, this panic buying has certainly been an issue, and you're seeing supermarkets limit the amount of rice that can be bought. Distribution challenges and hoarding. Even with government efforts to release emergency rice reserves, distribution bottlenecks have hindered it's hard to get the rice out. You know, they're stockpiles, but they're in different areas of the country. So it's hard to get the rice from Kochi, they might have a lot over there, over to an area that needs it, right? So that's also something that's being, I don't know if there's auctions going on or what's happening, how the government stockpiles the rice and all of that, and the politics behind that. I'm sure there's a lot of it. But it's hard to distribute this to customers and make sure that they don't hoard it, right? So the impact is that families are paying double the price for rice, which is a staple of the Japanese diet. It's like, I don't know, if McDonald's doubled their prices, we feel it at home. Maybe not that might not be a great metaphor, but we're really starting to feel it. There's not a lot of, I was in my supermarket, I couldn't find any California rice. And California makes some decent koshikari. And you know what? Australian rice is not that bad. I mean, it's not that great. You can taste the difference. I can taste the difference. But, I mean, it's not that bad. I think that should be supplied here. But this could be a tariff thing. This could be a trade policy, because the government policies on rice and importing rice, 500% tariff on rice and stuff like this is kind of crazy. I think maybe they've seen the light. We're going to start to see, we're going to talk about the solutions here. We're going to start to see some imported rice coming into the market real soon, I believe. The emergency stockpile release has been on, and they don't have as much as they did before because we had an emergency stockpile release last year. Policy reforms, the public outcry, and resignation of Agriculture Minister Taku Eto. Yeah, there is a environmental minister who made, what is it? He made some comment like he'd never bought rice. How did he get this job? He knew nothing about the rice market. Why was he in this position? Total, like politicians being politicians, you gotta give favors, and he was in a position of power at the agriculture department during an emergency. Wrong guy perhaps, he made a dumb comment. He was out of there, and we got a new rice minister. Very, very, Prime Minister Ishiba's like walking on eggshells right now. Is that a phrase? I think I've heard it before. Walking on eggshells right now. He's got a minority government. It's really hard to get things done, and it's even harder now. So yeah, I got my fingers crossed he can still be successful. But they really need to have a stronger approach to this. The policy reforms. Japan already said that they not accepting rice in California. That's crazy. They should. They're right now trying to get heat-resistant rice varieties. I've seen them do that with strawberries, cold-resistant strawberries. So they're pretty good. The scientists are doing it. The Emi Hokoro rice is something that they're working on right now, which is a heat-resistant one. So it looks like the long-term solutions, they're not there. This is what scares me. The Japanese government really doesn't have a long-term solution. And that's sort of Japan's approach on tourism, and on immigration as well. But maybe we'll talk about that later, but I don't think they need to have an immigration policy like they do in other countries. Japan is Japan. Now, I asked him when the rice shortage will end, if it will, with the harvest. And it says the outlook is that there's a 3% increase in the table rice plantings for this year, which is a good thing, but we just don't know what the outcome of the harvest this year is going to be. I noticed last year, when October came around and the harvest started, actually end of September, the rice came on the market, the prices went down so quickly. But I'm not seeing that. We just don't know how good the harvest is going to be this year. We're at the mercy of the weather. So I'm hoping that I got a feeling the summer is going to be harsh. The rainy season started too early this year. I don't know what's going to happen, but I got a feeling it's going to be rough again. As of April 2025, the average supermarket price for a 5-kilogram bag of rice was approximately 4,260 yen. That's a lot. It was usually about 1,800 yen for Akita Komachi, which was a cheaper variety, which is actually really good. The government implemented measures for direct sales of stockpiled rice retailers, so the stockpile is out there now. In response to the crisis, the Japanese government has initiated review of its rice policies. Please do that quickly, Prime Minister Ishiba. Bring in that California koshikari. Reforms may include revising subsidy programs. Please do that. However, these policy changes may take time to implement. Yeah, the lobbyists are very strong in Japan. Very strong. How does this impact tourism? So how does this impact you making your trip here to Japan? I get at it at 11 minutes in. Well, now you understand the background. So the rice shortage is starting to subtly impact tourism. You're going to see it more, and if it continues, you'll see it more in 2026. Restaurants, particularly washoku Japanese cuisine establishments that depend heavily on rice, high-grade domestic rice, is facing rising ingredient costs. If you're going to the high-end restaurants, they need to have Japanese rice. This is not something where we could substitute it. The price for that is extremely high. We're starting to see it at kaiseki ryori, and the people that are going to suffer the most are the traditional Japanese inns, family-run businesses that rely on regional ingredients. A lot of tourists like to stay there. I love to stay there. Japanese love to stay there. They might be substituting that for not local rice, which is a little odd. Sushi restaurants have increased prices or begun using imported rice. So if the prices are still 100 yen, I'm pretty sure they're not using Japanese koshihikari anymore. What this means for tourists, you might notice higher lunch set prices or slightly different prices, especially at mid-range restaurants in Tokyo or Kyoto. So yeah, things are going to go up, but it's a very subtle increase. I don't think it's going to be something that shocks tourists, especially with the exchange rate still at about 142 to the dollar, 140 yen to the dollar. It's not that bad, and you're still getting a pretty good deal on most stuff. Limited availability of specialty rice dishes. Let me pause this for a second here. The kamameshi iron pot rice, which I showed in my video recently, onigiri, mochi, senbei, gifts, bento boxes inside of the Tokyo station, which is behind me, probably going to see price increases because a lot of them can't really use international rice because it's based on the regionality. The bento boxes inside of the Tokyo station for the Shinkansen, Ekiban, they are made locally and they have to have the local ingredients. So I would expect a rise in price, or some of them just going under. They can't get their hands on it, or they don't want to pass on international rice to the consumers. So instead of ruining their reputation, some of them would rather just end. Fewer rice-based souvenirs like senbei rice crackers, mochi, local bento boxes. Like, this is what I'm saying here. So this is going to be an impact. Mochi going down, that's sad. Agricultural tourism also is going to suffer from this. Thank you to Mr. Unicorn Gaming. Could I bring my 2-kilogram Hinata rice? Maybe. You could probably sell it on the market. If you brought a bunch of it, you could probably sell it on the market here in Japan if customs let it through. And bring in that rice from Woolies. Again, the Aussie rice and the American rice, they should definitely put it on the market here. They certainly need it. These agricultural experiences, I think the inekari, which is the rice harvesting, is a really good tour for foreign tourists coming here. You get to go onto the farm and experience what it's like there, and then you get to eat the rice, to feel the significance of rice in Japanese culture is very strong. Now, this is the one that I think hurts a lot. The traditional Japanese inns, the ryokan, they emphasize locally sourced meals. This is what I love about them. It's going to be really hard for them to keep this up. I'm sure they've stockpiled some rice, but to make it until October is going to be really hard. There's no major shortages at convenience stores. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but many tourists are grabbing onigiri. If you're going to get one at the Family Mart or 7-Eleven or Lawson's, The price might go up about 10 or 20 yen, but you're not going to see much change. I don't know. I guess they have a really good supply of rice or have thought this through. The supply chains, especially 7-Eleven Japan, very good. So we haven't seen any price increases. In fact, I've seen at the convenience stores price decreases. And I'm going to explain to you in a second. So I like how they put a table here. So moderate to low and then mixed. But we're starting to really feel it, especially if you're a family living here and your staple of your diet is rice. So it's going to be hard for June, July, August, September. 4 months of really high prices. It still could go up even more for 5 kilograms of rice. And if something does happen this summer, like that prophecy, which I think is a kind of a joke, we might have more runs on rice. Thankfully, I kind of cut down my rice consumption quite a bit and found other food, just like eating meat, and cut down on carbohydrates. So maybe Japanese need to do a little bit of that here. All right, one story I want to show you, and if I missed any super chats, I do apologize going back here. But thanks everybody for the support. Japanese convenience stores started this thing here. Okay, it's a price discount label featuring a crying character. This is at Lawson's, I believe, pleading customers to help cut food loss. So sometimes the onigiris get thrown away because they get to their expiration date, but there's no real reason to do that. They are refrigerated in there at a cool temperature. So they put discounts stickers like they do at the supermarkets, like hangaku, on some of these rice with these crying onigiri, like, I need to be sold, I need a home, right? And you can see the discounted onigiri sticker here. This one's at where is it? I think it's at Lawson's. I've seen these at some of the convenience stores already. I think it's a really good idea. You don't want wasted food. So recycling it is good. And that's a kind of a cute mascot there for recycled rice. The weirdest story of them all. So whenever there's a shortage, I can't see anything. Whenever there's a shortage, innovation and entrepreneurs take advantage of it, and you come up with some really unusual things, usual ideas. I don't know how this is going to impact Japanese sake makers. They've been increasing production since the law changed and allowed them to increase production for that. So it's not going to impact sake too much. But I found like this. I want to know your comment on this. And I'm going to take some questions here in a second. What do you think about this? This news story just broke recently. Can I get it up here? This is from the Asahi Shimbun. This is kind of crazy. Lawson's to sell lower priced onigiri made of vintage rice. Vintage rice. Talk about a really cool name, right? And they even have it marketed. This is a salt onigiri, just the basic vintage 2023. Looks kind of cool. They're really finding a way to sell this here. Lawson's will begin selling vintage rice harvested in 2023, 2 years ago, at a lower price than its usual onigiri. The rice is stockpiled, but it's in good condition, so it can be used. Rice can sit for quite a while. Takematsu said the company plans to offer a few basic varieties. It'll be about 120 yen, 84 cents before taxes. The vintage stuff is going to come out in July. That's basically what you need to know of this. They're also going to sell rice. A kilogram package of government rice will be sold at 360 yen. That's cheap before taxes, and 2 kilogram packages for 700 yen. That's really cheap. So that's going to be some relief for families, but you're eating older rice. So I don't know if the taste is impacted. Only one way to find out, which is, I'm going to buy some government rice. Hey, I grew up in the 1980s. So that basically means I grew up on government cheese. And if there's some, I think it was on Netflix, or some YouTubers have made some documentaries on the subsidies to the dairy industry and the government cheese that was offloaded to kids. Remember anyone who grew up in the 80s knows you'd go to your school and you'd get a cheese block. You'd have a cafeteria platter, right? You put your spoon and the fork, and you get one of those pizzas that's in a square and a cheese block. I kind of like those cheese blocks, but that was like stockpiled government cheese. It wasn't bad, so I guess rice is sort of the same way. So you pack NW. Remember the government cheese? I don't know if they still do it, but if you're a product of the 1980s, which I am, you remember the government cheese blocks. They weren't too bad, right? I remember sometimes you get the white cheese, sometimes you get the orange cheddar cheese, sometimes you get some I don't know what it was, cheese. 2 years is not that vintage. Yeah, I know, but it's a pretty neat marketing tick. Maybe right for rice in the modern era, but it's pretty good marketing. I don't know. You're gonna see burger places that have rice burgers, perhaps switching back to bread as well. So you're gonna see some subtle changes, I think, in the marketplace. I think Moss Burger has those rice patties. They might be getting rid of them, I'm not sure. I think it makes a lot of sense, either that or to elevate the price. But it's hard to do it in a rice shortage unless they start to go for foreign rices. So the places that don't raise the price are using imported rice. I got no problem with that. I'll eat imported rice, and I don't think tourists really know the difference anyways. My advice to you as a tourist, don't take too much rice. Don't waste food. This is a principle that I'm so proud of living here in Japan now for half my life, that is ingrained in me, the concept of mottainai. Don't take more than you need, don't waste. And this goes not just with food, but with everything. Mottainai. I say that all the time now. So when you go to a buffet or something, you don't need to make a barge. You don't need to make a big, huge garbage truck on your plate. You can go back. You can always go back. I know you might feel like it's going to be sold out. It's a buffet. So I see the foreign tourists, especially from certain countries, they make these garbage plates. They take everything, and then I see the Japanese, and they have a normal amount. I'm becoming one of those people. So, mottainai. And we don't take more rice than we need. When I make in a rice cooker, I usually will cook 1.5 cups for 3 people, and we'd have no waste. Everything gets eaten. Same with dinner. We throw almost nothing away. I got a 4-year-old son, so he doesn't eat everything all the time. We try to make sure we cook something that he will eat, and if he doesn't, then we will eat it for him. But very little do we waste, and it's a good. Except if it's a pudding in a can, I might throw that away in a storm drain 2 days ago. But normally I won't waste any food if I can help it. But yeah, that's a principle that you have to live in. Pudding drink in a can. It's drinkable pudding, Five-Toed Sloth Bear. Check it out. It's on this channel 2 days ago. It's pretty interesting. And then I got somebody from Kansai, a visitor here, tagged me in a post on Instagram and said, I found what only in Japan did, but cheaper. So he got it for 100 yen and I paid it 140. That's only in Osaka. Yeah, you should certainly try it. You should certainly try it. Do you have any questions on the rice shortage? I'll take questions for about a minute before I get moving on. We're going to the U.S. on Tuesday, so we're going to be gone for a while. So there won't. I'll try to make 2 or 3 episodes to upload Strovies, but I'll be back in Japan at the end of June. So for about 2 weeks, I'll be back in the U.S. and we'll try to do some Q&A and things like this to keep this channel going during that time. The United States. That's what the U.S. means. Nowadays, I eat more microwave-ready cooked rice. Yeah, you know that the prices on that are starting to go up as well. I noticed. Where in the U.S. are going? East Coast. I don't think we have any time for meetups. Maybe in July. We'll see. Are there any less onigiri in convenience now? I saw no change in onigiri at the convenience stores right now. I guess they have their own supply of rice, but no change in the supply of onigiri or increase in sandwiches, for example, but we might see that. East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, East Coast. I might be. I'd love to go to Montreal, see Danny, see some of our viewers up in Quebec. Love Canada. I know despite the tariff war and the politics of it all, I love Canada. I love going up there, and I have Canadian friends. They still love coming to the U.S. I know it's a political and national patriotism and all that, but the 2 countries are just too close, and this is just a blip in time over the course of hundreds of years. But I would love to go to Montreal again. That was my first country I visited outside of the U.S. We drove up to Montreal in the 1980s, not that long after the 1976 Olympics, and I still remember Montreal was such a beautiful. I was like, Montreal's so clean and so safe, and so it might be different nowadays, but would love to go up there and see you guys in Montreal. So we'll see if that happens. We are Canadians. We are neighbors. Exactly. I know the politics of all of this. It's a blip in time, man. It comes and it goes. People can get heated. There's nationalism involved, but in the end, we always come back together again. But little brothers and sisters got to fight every now and then. But in the end, you're still brothers and sisters, right? Noodle prices. Noodles aren't made from rice. I have not seen any increase in prices for that. But there is inflation in Japan for the first time in a long time, so prices have increased compared to 2 years ago. But I would say that it's a lot less than in the West. A lot less. And with the yen being as weak as it is, you really are not going to feel it as a tourist. In fact, you'll have the opposite impact. You'll be spending less now than you did in 2019, 2020 for everything. Montreal would be a great city to visit, even though my French is limited. Somebody said Montreal is quite dangerous. You know, those are people in Montreal. It was a lot more dangerous than it was in the past. There's like carjacking or something. So I got a little worried, but it's still Montreal. I mean, I don't know. It can't be any more dangerous than American cities, I figure, so I'm not too scared about that. But look, if I can't get my poutine fix at least once a year, I start to suffer and I start to shrivel up. I need poutine, and I need good poutine. We just don't have it in Japan. It's like, it's not the same. You go to Montreal, they put some kind of gravy on it, and they put the cheese curds are better. Maybe it's Canadian. It's really good. If you haven't had poutine, that's like the national food of Canada, perhaps. They might even put maple syrup on it in some places, for all I know. Poutine is good. Google it. Google it. After the meetup in Montreal, a lot of the viewers that came out, they recommended a couple of good poutine places. And after Tim Hortons, which I don't think is Canadian anymore, is it? The poutine was fantastic. So. Yeah, no problem in Montreal. That's what I thought. I'm looking forward to it. I think we saw Circus du Soleil in Montreal. Yeah, and so we got a chance to spend the night there. But I'd love to drive up there. It was in the winter. Oh my God, don't go in winter. It is so cold. It was like minus 50 degrees with the Celsius. I remember I went outside to go get some food at the supermarket. My face was like an ice block after like 15 seconds. And I said, how the heck can people live there? And they said, you got to be born into it. Yeah, no kidding. But the summer is supposed to be really nice up there. So I wouldn't mind going up to Montreal for a summer and hanging out up there with some of you guys. So, yeah. They speak French and English, but the French is different a little bit. French is a beautiful language. All right, everybody, that's all I got from the beautiful Tokyo Station. It's a wonderful day. The humidity is low. The sun is hot, but everybody's getting a nice suntan. You can see looking around here. I'll be back with another live stream tomorrow. I'll try to keep this going until the day we leave because the frequency might go down just a bit. But I'll be so busy on Monday and Tuesday. Oh, by the way, if you're Japanese, I'm looking for a cameraman for a job on Saturday morning. I need somebody who can take some B-roll for me, and it's a paid job. So if you're a cameraman and you're living in Japan, maybe you could speak a little bit of Japanese because that might be important. I'm not gonna be here, so I need your help for an episode I'm making. Direct message me on Instagram. And it's Saturday, the 14th of June. I really need a cameraman. The ones that I've talked to were already busy. They have jobs already, or like they wanted, like, I think it was like, it started at 60,000 yen, and I just don't have the budget for, $500 for 1 hour of work. It's a lot to pay for 1 hour of work, but I might have to spring for that. But I was looking for a cameraman. That's only 2 other cameramen. One of them had 60,000 yen, the other one was just out of my price. I can't justify the costs. I'd rather just table this episode till next year. But I really am kind of hard up for a cameraman for B-roll in the early morning, and I'll pay for your travel cost if you're in Tokyo, okay? And for your time to help me out and film this. So bring that up here. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you in another episode real soon. Mata ne.